to school here, I am determined, that as many of the generations that come behind me do not go through the same, system that I went through, where European history and all their victories were the highlights of the histories that we were taught. I would be satisfied and gratified if readers would leave the book, determined to question everything. This novel is a direct reaction to historical accounts. It wasn't the only one. So it's a reaction to so-called colonial history. The novel deliberately signifies on top novel title, because where her ladder of bones symbolizes the sacrifices of the colonial agents, I reclaim it. I reconstruct, I jam it, in short, to highlight the human cost of colonization, the buried trauma beneath progress narratives, the real bones on which modernity was built. So in my vision, these bones do not form a path upward, the so-called ladder of bones. They mark what has been lost, silenced, and endured. So the first excerpt I'm going to be reading tonight takes place in Halifax, Nova Scotia in 1997 during Victoria Day celebration. Anybody who's familiar with the British Empire knows that Queen Victoria represents the epoch, the zenith of the glory of the British Empire. So this young girl was found, a mysterious young girl, is found on the streets. She has 2 navels and lots of scars on her body, no memory of who she is or where she comes from. So the part I'm reading is the part where the doctors cared for her are still baffled by who she is. So in this excerpt, a Yoruba nurse on duty has gone into her room to give her some medication to help her relax. A ladder of bones, and people like a ladder of bones, people like those Eurocentric people, they actually recognize the power of history, of memory, and that is why they have tried to harness it, to control it. Not only do they put out their own stories, they also guard the gates to make sure, to stop our stories from getting heard. And it's a challenge that as writers, artists, creative people, educators, parents, even as religionists, this is what our brothers and sisters in the diaspora have showed us. You can be a Christian and still respect your Orisha. You can, you take what works for you from there, but you don't assume that everything your ancestors did was rubbish, because you are anchored to them. In your DNA, a refusal to acknowledge them is automatically, you are cutting yourself short. You are selling yourself short. You cannot reach your full potential without acknowledging that you stand on the shoulders, of people who sacrifice so that you can be here.
The ladder of bones, plunging readers into a weirdly emotional landscape. Since the publication of her first novel, which was also serialized on national television, Commission has consistently demonstrated a formidable ability to craft narratives that balance social criticism, commentary, and compelling fiction. Ladder of Bone continues this trajectory, brilliantly employing intertextuality to engage deeply in history. In the Leather of Bones, Oyinsan seamlessly blends Yoruba folktales, iconic works like Toni Morrison's Beloved, and reimagine historical figures to illuminate the context of our five pivotal characters. Adon Mayor, popularly known as Annie, Star, Melvin, Bona, and Timothy. These individuals, each bearing unique and profound experiences, find their lives intersecting in Halifax, Canada, volunteer for an aid mission. However, their humanitarian effort took a grim turn when Melvin, the Liberian boy, scarred by parents' militia-led murder, organizes a gang ambush. Despite the volunteers' peaceful intent, this sudden act of violence plunges them back into familiar patterns of conflict and trauma. Oyinsan does a wonderful job navigating debates surrounding immigrant life, refugee settlements, generations of ancestors are remunerated into new lives. The novel's core message conveys the powerful and sensitive exchange when Lynn's mother recognizes Amy, the two-narrow girl of Halifax past, now seen on television as a migrant boy. That dialogue serves as a devastating summation of the book's central theme. But you said the girl did not harm anyone. You said that when she spoke to you, she was gentle and did not threaten you in any way. He nodded. And her mother turned her head sorrowfully. The mother said, sighing deeply, this boy that I just saw does not come in peace. Moreover, through the emergent geography of Ife or Dai, the novel offers a potent metaphor for African countries, delivering a transient critique of the assistance of chronic militarism in governance, especially apparent in his life as an activist. This expansive scope provides a varied and balanced overview of the trauma the Black body carries across the globe. Yet, while such a multiplicity of heavy themes might typically render a short novel dense and unreadable, Oyinsan's key success is the remarkable effectiveness of a well-balanced and intricately knitted narrative structure. Across the different parts of the novel, Oyinsan encapsulates relentless struggles of migrants and how they strive to carve out a home for themselves, irrespective of racial slurs, work, and living conditions. Both imagined geographies like Ife or Dai and real places like Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Canada all play crucial roles.
About cannot afford to buy it because rather the cover price is insane. So my hope and my prayer, and anybody has an in with Nigerian publishers, would be to get a local publisher to take the African or Nigerian, because they refused, the publisher refused to cede it to me, you know. But I know that if an established publisher from here approaches them, and I'm able to let them know, if you don't give them the right, my people, before you, they'll go and yes, they'll go and pirate it. So that might make them say, but my target is to get it published locally.